I'm going to put my chantilly, and the day you're ready to make a sauce, you combine all this. The only thing you need in cooking is to love cooking. If you don't have any knowledge, the cognac gives a kick of flavor, and the wine is going to bring all these flavors together. I'm going to pour the Bruno. I'm waiting that the reduction of the wine. I want to cross the flavor inside the dish. Hopefully, you have. Welcome to Cooking with Bruno, and today we're going to bring a lot of sun inside your house. Sun because I love Italian cuisine. That's a fantastic way to learn how to cook. It has a lot of basics of cookings, and also what is interesting with Italian cuisine, we use a lot of fresh ingredients like carrots, celery, zucchini, potatoes, tomatoes, and also what is the most important in the flavor is the onion. So we're going to use red onion today, and my guest today is Leslie Fakerbird, and her and her husband, it's a family who own a produce business in Colorado, and they produce a lot of onions. Leslie?
Thank you, Bruno. Yes, we do. Ship a lot of onions out of the state of Colorado for most of the year. So for the last 50 years anyway, we've been doing it.
And also Leslie has been a student in many classes. And the first time we met, we made together a French onion soup. Is this correct?
Yes, we made French onion soup, and it was very good.
Thank you. So we have a lot of good things to share together today. We're going to make a minestrone. The minestrone, you can use a mini vegetable leftover from your kitchen. And all the good kitchen, we have always handy some fresh garlic, onions. It can be red, yellow, or white. Today we're going to choose the red wine. And we're going to have some onion. And also, what I like in the simple way of cooking, my family comes from a country part of France, and when you cook in that way, what you want is to do it as simple as possible. And so what you do is in a saute pan, it will be better if you want to give a full strength of a flavor of vegetable. What you need to do is in a saute pan you have some olive oil, and you saute the onions, and after that the carrots.
Mm-hmm. Do you need to peel the carrot, or does it matter?
If the skin is very thin, that's a good question. It's about the nutritional value. Many vegetables, if you peel them, you remove the biggest part of the nutritional value because you can find them in the skin. Okay. So when the skin is not hard, I would suggest for many vegetables after washing them properly, if the skin is very thin, you don't need to peel them because you want not only to enjoy a good meal, but what you want is to have a full nutritional value of that meal. So for today, the only step that we skip right now, it's we're not going to spend 15 minutes sauteing the vegetable in olive oil. But that step has to be done when you cook at home. You saute the vegetable in olive oil with a little bit salt and pepper. And we need some celery, please. Okay. And after you saute them, what is happening in the sauteing technique? Any kind of vegetable has some sweetness, and when you saute, you need to caramelize a little bit the sweetness and to enhance the flavor. And after that, you add all these nice vegetable saute in a cooking pot, and you're going to add some chicken stock. It's what we did right now. And all the flavors will blend all together. That's very important. And what I like also from the country style of cooking, thank you. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to continue with the zucchini. What is very interesting about the country style of cookings, I like to see what I'm going to eat. I like to see all the ingredients and all the colors. I told you that cooking is like having sun inside the house. It can be snowing outside, it can be raining, but when you cook at home, you have always sun, and you need to bring that sun inside your kitchen. And what is important at the second step after sauteing, it's this simmering process. You want to extract all the flavor and also all the nutritional value from every kind of vegetable used in minestrone soup inside the broth.
Are there other vegetables besides what we have here that would be good in this soup?
Yes. In vegetables, I would suggest you can use, if you like a bitter taste, you can add some escarole. That's a good way to add some bitterness with a vegetable. As a starch, I like a lot to have some potatoes. It thickens also a little bit the soup too.
Is escarole in the grocery store here all the time?
Yes,
It is?
you
Okay.
can find it at the lettuce. That's okay. We will have plenty enough. And now we're going to do with the potato. I'm sorry. So now I have all my vegetable cooking. And about tomato, there are two things you can choose. We can use some fresh diced red tomato. And also about tomatoes, they are very sweet when you get them from the can. So they can give you a very nice flavor. And you can use some diced red tomatoes from the can. And that's a very neat ingredient to add.
Is this a Yukon Gold potato, or is it just a regular russet? Or
When I do Italian cuisine, I use a lot of red skin potatoes.
Okay.
On that dish, because the soup is going to all the flavor mixed together, is not very important. But sometimes when I saute something as a side dish, I use a lot of red potatoes.
Okay.
And what is interesting about soup, right now we are using a cooking pot. But before, a few thousand years ago, before people have a good pot for cooking, they're using clay pots, and they're putting all the leftovers in the pot, adding water and some very hot stones from the fire. So the soup was cooking from inside to outside.
the stones were inside the pot?
You are dropping the stone inside the pot. That's the traditional way a few thousand years ago how to cook a soup. And after that, with the invention of new metals and new cooking pot, it was feasible to, much easier to cook with a cooking pot. And actually, sometimes in certain kind of countries still in this world, you add the stone inside the food and it will cook the product. So the origin of the soup is very old, and that's the way we found out how they were cooking, because we have a lot of research today, and we found that was the way they were doing. So now, when you have all of the ingredients together, you don't want on that soup tomato juice. It's tomato diced and all vegetable diced. And the broth will have all these ingredients coming together. And also you want to add more sun in that soup. So we're going to have spices. And spices we have oregano, basil, we have thyme, bay leaves. In French cuisine, Italian cuisine, we use a lot of bay leaves. And also, for spiciness, I would suggest to have some chili flakes.
Do you like fresh spices better, or fresh herbs better than the dried ones, or does it matter to you?
I would say when you cook with Bruno, the technique we're using, if you cook during winter time, you can have recipe with dry herbs. On summertime, it's better to use fresh herbs. And when you use fresh herbs, you can, most of the time when you chop the leaves for one dish, you don't throw away the stems. And the stems, you keep them, you tie them with a string, and you can put the stem inside the soup. So the stem, who has a lot of flavor, will give a flavor to the soup. And you can remove the stems away before you serve it, because the stems are not very neat for presentation. But they are outstanding to give a flavor to the soup.
You don't throw anything away, do you?
I never throw anything away.
Must have a big freezer.
I think that's the one of the big philosophy of cooking, Bruno. My family come from a country place of France, and we don't throw anything away. We use everything. And it's important when you cook, you know what to use, what is left inside the kitchen. So that's very important. Also, I spent my life over 23 years in the restaurant business. So what I try now with the technique is to combine the best from the restaurant technique with the flavor you can get when you go to a restaurant, but using tools at home, ingredients you have at home, very handy next to you. So very important to have these techniques combined together. So now, when you mix all the ingredients together, what you need to do is to simmer the soup. It will take maybe 15, 20, 25 minutes. If you're a big pot, it will take longer. On this case, for that size, for one-time recipe, about half a gallon, it will take maybe 20, 25 minutes to simmer and reduce. When you reduce, what is going to happen, all this flavor will concentrate. Instead of adding more spices, what you want with a reducing technique to have a better concentration. And at the same time, what it's going to do is going to soften the flesh of the vegetable. The onion, the zucchini, the carrots, to soften them. So when you will have a tasting experience, you will have all these very neat vegetable, very soft in your mouth, and it will be a very, very, very nice experience.
And there's no tomato sauce or paste or anything? It's all
No.
just the juice that was in the can? Okay.
The juice and the flesh, the diced tomato from the can. Okay? So after simmering for a while, the soup, and it's ready to go, what you do is you serve the soup, and about toppings, you will have many, many options. You can add some cannelli beans. You can add some pasta. You can have a penne pasta. You can have a torcini pasta, as we have today. And that can be a pasta you haven't finished the day before. And you can use the same pasta. So for the topping today, we have a very neat torcini pasta. And you can add more flavor at the last minute. If you want more strength, you can add some basil.
Did you add salt before?
I
Or
didn't
you
add salt
do
at
that
all.
at the end to see if you need it or not?
One thing with cooking in Bruno, I always like to add the salt at the end because it's very easy to add salt, and most of the time it's impossible to remove the salt. So a lot of vegetables, when you cook with, they are very salty by themselves.
Are tomatoes pretty salty?
They're not.
They're not salty, okay.
Every kind of vegetable has a kind of saltiness, and what you want to do is to use the saltiness when you cooked, and you add the regular salt at the end. So you have the option, excuse me, you have the option at the end to add some pesto sauce, and if you don't have some pesto sauce, what you can do, you can add basil, olive oil, and voila, you have a homemade minestrone soup, very healthy, very nutritious, and made for you today.
Can I ask a question about the basil?
Yes?
If you're going to make pesto with this, how do you make that?
A pesto is also tips I give during the classes. To make a pesto means you are going to smash in pound some basil with garlic, Parmesan cheese, olive oil. You can add a little bit of parsley if you want, and you make it rest. So all the flavors are blended inside the olive oil. And I will provide the recipe also during the classes. Okay?
Do you add nuts?
You can add nuts, pine nuts, but depending, some people are allergic, I won't use them.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Well, Leslie, thank you very much. We did today a minestrone soup. And we'll be back in a few minutes, and we have everything made from scratch just for you today. Thank you very much. Welcome back to Cooking with Bruno and with Leslie Fickerberg. And she has been a so good student, she will continue to cook today. That's a good thing. And we're going to continue with two things. We're going to make a penne Venezia. That's vegetable, basically vegetable pasta. And also we're going to make some Pomodoro sauce. The Pomodoro sauce will help to bring more flavor, tomato flavor to that dish. So right now, I'm going to make a tomato sauce. How long do you think it will take to make a tomato sauce?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay. Do you mind please to shave some garlic? What I like from a Pomodoro sauce, basically is a tomato sauce, and what I want is with a lot of love to bring these flavors inside the tomato sauce. This one is my favorite own recipe. I love garlic, I love basil, I love cheese, so we need to bring this flavor. So the first thing, you want to cook the garlic. So I'm having, in my saucepan, I'm using some pure virgin olive oil. And when the oil is hot, I'm going to cook some garlic. That's perfect. That's plenty enough,
okay.
Yes. If you want, we're going to prepare at the same time the ingredient that we need for the penne Venezia. If you don't mind, please, to let's continue to shave a little bit more garlic and dice some tomatoes. Okay. So what you want to do at this stage, if you burn your garlic, it will give a big bitterness flavor to your sauce. What you want is only to golden brown, so that the garlic is cooked and also give all the flavor, and the flavor will stay inside the oil. So I have my garlic, and when the garlic is almost done, I add some oregano and just a simple tomato sauce.
Now, Bruno, if you did burn the garlic, do you have to throw it out and start over?
You need to start over because the burnt garlic will give definitely a bad flavor to your sauce.
Okay.
And when you cook the garlic, you're doing at the beginning. So if you burn it, you just throw it away and you begin from scratch. Okay? So the pomodoro sauce, basically the tomato sauce with some garlic, some basil. You can use dry in winter and fresh during summertime. And you add some Parmesan cheese. I know in the States people love cheese, and also a huge cheese lover. Mm-hmm. So you can add some Parmesan, you can add some Romano cheese. All of them are very good.
Can I have another garlic question?
Yes.
You know, you can buy the garlic that's really large. Does it have as much flavor as this, or is it always better to stay with this size?
Most of the time, the large garlic don't have the same flavor. They have a less flavor. They are very easy to process because they don't have so much skin on it. But I would suggest to have already peeled garlic, the small one. Okay, you can get them at the store. And the sauce is already made. We spent 2 minutes to make a sauce.
That's it?
It is already made. So now this sauce has a lot of flavor. I'm going to put next to me. And I'm going now to continue with the penne Venezia. The penne Venezia is totally a sauté technique. What I want in the sautéing, it's every ingredient should give flavor inside the pan before I put the pasta. So when you make that dish, I would suggest to pre-cook your pasta al dente, so it's still uncooked inside and totally cooked outside. So like that, the pasta, when you will add it to the sauce, it will still need to swallow some flavor, some liquid. So now we have for the penne Venezia. We begin with olive oil. And we're going to add to this olive oil some fresh garlic, shaved.
Lots of garlic.
Lot of garlic. I'm a garlic lover. That's a good thing. Very nutritious. We're going to add some Roma tomatoes, if you don't mind, please, to dice some Roma tomatoes.
I have a tomato question.
Yes.
Out of season, tomatoes are not very flavorful. So is there something you can do to help that along?
Yes. What you need to do about tomatoes, any time of the year, it can be summer or winter time, the tomatoes, they always gather them when they are green. They are not mature, ready to be used. So the only way to improve the flavor of the tomatoes is not to put them in the fridge, at room temperature only in your kitchen, and you put the stem down on the plate. So like that, the tomato will ripe slowly, and will have some more flavor. It will have its plain flavor using it that way. And you check the softness. Mm-hmm. When the flesh is getting soft, that means it's already mature and ready to go. Just you need to dice it and it's ready to go.
Okay.
So now,
if you buy them on the stem, does that make them better? They sell them that are still connected to the stem.
Absolutely,
better?
they're more fresh
Okay.
because they need to dry out very fast.
Okay.
Okay? So now we have some, that's perfect.
That's
we
it.
have the tomatoes. So when the garlic release already its flavor inside the pan, at this stage, you add the diced Roma tomatoes. And the sautéing technique, you want all the ingredients cooking evenly.
Smells good.
It smells good, but I haven't begun yet. We need a few more good things. On that recipe, we're going to have some capers, to add some capers to the taste.
And capers are what?
It's a fruit of the plant, and they're preserved inside the brine. So like that, when you have them in a jar, what you need to do is to remove the brine, because the brine is quite salty. What you want to use is only the caper itself. You have two kinds of capers. The big one will have less flavor, and the small one, they're called non-pareil. Non-pareil is a French word, means they are not the same. One day, one guy saw these capers so small, he said, these capers are not the same. They are non-pareil. So now the name stays with this kind of capers. So you can see, I can saute, and my saute pan is still very, very dry right now. It absorbs a lot of olive oil, and we can add a little bit more oil with the anchovies. Do you like anchovies?
I like them in Caesar salad.
In Caesar salad? Well, today we
Okay.
need to cook them with pasta. One thing about the anchovies, you get them from the can, and you can use also the oil who has flavor of the anchovies to continue to cook your dish. So what I'm doing right now, I'm using some olive oil. If you don't mind to chop it, please. This olive oil was preserving also the fillet of anchovies, and it has a lot of flavor.
So you don't need very many of these, I would
No,
think. Okay.
because the flavor is very, very, very strong, and also you don't need. I won't suggest to put any salt on that dish until in the end, because the anchovies are going to bring a lot of saltiness.
Great.
Okay? What is important when you saute? It's doing step by step, ingredient by ingredient. So like that, you control your cooking. You don't want the food controlling yourself. You want to control what you are doing. Okay? So right now, we are inside the studio, and I see a lot of people around smiling. We have a lot of good smell and flavor. At this stage, you can add some fresh basil or dry basil. Very little salt and pepper, very little because the anchovies bring a lot of saltiness, and also the capers.
Is that your mix?
That's a salt and
That's the
pepper
mix?
mix.
Okay.
I would suggest when you use a mix in the kitchen about 4-to-1, 4 times salt, 1 time volume pepper, white pepper. And now I have all the ingredients to release all the flavor and properly cook one by one. I'm going to add some Pomodoro sauce. And I want to thicken the sauce. I'm a butter lover too. We have a lot of good things today.
Unsalted butter, you said.
You can use salted or unsalted. Most of the time we use unsalted when you do some pastries. And you can use salted when you cook because you have salt also on that dish. Okay? So at this stage, what is very important, we add the Pomodoro sauce to have all the flavor. It's like deglazing the sauté pan, having all the flavors all together. And I add the butter at the end just to thicken the sauce, to add an extra flavor. You can see the sauce is quite pasty right now. Okay? All the excess of water is totally released. And we can add a few olives for decoration. If you want, we can cut some.
All right.
Decoration and taste, because we begin the recipe with olive oil.
Can you use any kind of olive, or you
Yes.
cut the black? Oh.
Black I love because they have a very neat color.
that enough?
That's enough.
Okay.
And now we're going to add the pasta. On that dish, you can use penne pasta or tortellini pasta. The reason why I love the tortellini pasta or penne pasta, because they have a huge surface of contact, the pasta with the sauce. What it's going to do is going to grab very well the sauce. And now you're going to reheat the pasta, and you see immediately what it's doing the pasta is sucking all the sauce.
It looks good.
And all the flavor now of the sauce is on the pasta. It's sticking of the pasta. I don't want liquid, I want very thick concentrated sauce to stick of the pasta. And voila. Are you
Voila.
ready for a nice lunch today?
Absolutely.
Okay. So about the presentation of a dish. Excuse me. I would suggest to put on the middle of a dish the pasta. You can top with Parmesan or Romano cheese. You can add some black olives if you are an olive lover. Some fresh parsley. Always use your imagination when you're cooking. You can use also some fresh basil. And voila, we have a penne Venezia ready to go.
You would like me to try this? It looks
Please
very
go ahead.
good. Delicious.
He has, what I like from his dish is he has a lot of smoky flavor, and he has all these ingredients very blend together and cooked properly. So that's very important when you cook, to follow the steps. And this is one of the things we teach during the classes, how to follow the steps and to cook properly. Well, thank you very much for being here, and see you very soon. Thank you.